So I left this enormous crowded conference room and convention room and went out. And when I came out, there was this missionary gal that we knew her and her husband, and they were just returning to the States as well. And she looked at me as I'm getting ready to get on the escalator, and she said, "I know why you left the meeting." And I said, "Does it have anything to do with the reason why you left?" She goes, "Yes, just a bit overwhelming." I said, "I totally understand." So I got on the escalator and down. I mean, it was like I say about 3 stories. And when I just started just a few feet down. I heard a voice. The Lord spoke to me, and He said, "At the bottom of the escalator, behind those decorative trees, there are 3 pastors from Indonesia, and I want you to go up to them, and I want you to talk to them, and I want you to welcome them, and to say, hopefully, that their connection with us would be beneficial, and I was sure that their connection with us was going to be beneficial to us. So it was a mutual thing. It was something that God was doing, and it was going to be a blessing to both church groups. And so I really not determined at that point that if it didn't happen, I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was debating on whether or not to tell Connie, but I tell her everything, so I'm sure that I was going to, but I wasn't going to tell anybody else. And I thought, well, but if it is true, it's going to be a pretty cool story. So here's the pretty cool story. I got down to the bottom. I made the right-hand turn, heading for the door, and when I came just a few feet, 3 or 4 steps on the other side of those decorative trees, there were 3 men standing there, and they had the delegation tags as I did, and I thought, well, now I'm going to tell you the process that went on in me, in my mind. I thought, well, I've never met an Indonesian. These guys could be Filipino. These guys could be something else. And I kept walking, and the Lord spoke to me and said, "You go back and talk to these guys and tell them what I told you." And I made a sentence and I put 2 words together. I don't recommend anybody to do. I said, "No, Lord," and I kept walking. I got to the revolving door. Those big doors in these big hotels. You can put like 5 or 6 people at a time in 1/4 of that. So I was getting ready to rotate out of the building onto the sidewalk and walk down the street to our hotel. And again, I heard the Lord say, "Do not step outside this building. Do not put your foot outside this building." And I thought, well, why? What are you going to do? You're going to, my foot going to fall off? Or are you going to, is a taxi going to hit me and kill me? I mean, what? Now, I know I didn't think anything serious was going to happen, but I didn't want to find out exactly what God had in mind if I disobeyed, and I would have been disobedient. So I rotated back in, and the doorman looks at me like, "You're the first person over 12 to do that ever." As I walked back, and I got to tell you something. As I was walking back, I thought to myself, I just hope they're not there. Now, I don't know what my deal was, but I felt kind of embarrassed. I thought the word was kind of maybe cheesy for me, or like not my place. But but anyway, I just was fighting it, and yet there they were. So finally, I went up to them and I introduced myself. It turns out that these 3 brothers are all pastors with this GPDI denomination. 2 of them in Indonesia, but the third one was pastoring in Santa Monica, California. As a matter of fact, when the denomination made the decision in Indonesia to partner with our denomination in the States, the person who was the liaison for that was this pastor, Pastor Raymond Lamandi, who was pastoring at the time. He's retired now, but pastoring in Santa Monica. Now, all 3 of these brothers invited me to speak in their churches, and in time I did. I spoke in all 3 of those churches. The first one was in Santa Monica. I spoke there twice. And when I was, second time was at Christmas, and it was really nice, and I had a big dinner and everything. And so one of the guys there, his brother, pastors a church on the island of Sumatra. And it's a church of maybe a couple hundred, he said. And he said, if you want, you can start there. I said, sure. I have no direction on where, but I do know that God's calling us to to go to Indonesia. And I had what at that time in mind what I call the Starbucks strategy, which had worked in two other countries that we were in prior to this, and that was just to find a Starbucks or reasonable facsimile, dynamic equivalent. Could be a Burger King or whatever, but to get an American company, meet somebody that spoke English, figuring they would if they work there maybe, and find out if they were believers. They were believers. Ask where their church was, and could I visit them? So that was my thought. That's how I was going to go, and we were already raising money for that trip, and that with that in mind. And then, actually, that was not Christmas. That was before the Christmas service, and it was in the fall though. And so later that fall, I think it was around sometime in November, October maybe of, of 2005. We were having dinner with some friends in Southern California, and I get this call, and it's this brother who is the president of this denomination and the pastor of their mother church, their largest church, their headquarters church in Jakarta, capital of Indonesia. And he called during dinner, and excuse me, I took the call, and he introduced himself as Pastor Annie Monday, and said, James, I would like you to come, and I need you to go to the Indonesian consulate there in Los Angeles and see this man. He's a member of my church. He's now stationed at the Indonesian consulate in Los Angeles. And so I did that, and I received a business tourist visa, and that was good for a period of time. And we decided on when I would go, and it turns out that I had wanted to go sooner, but I felt like the Lord had said, I want you to stay in the States for 1 year. Do not travel for 1 year anywhere outside the U.S. And I don't know why exactly, but that was just, the year was about something else, preparing, I guess. And I tried, I'm being honest with you, I tried 2 different times to go there sooner, to go somewhere else, and it just fell apart. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take this seriously. March the 1st. That's the first day that I can be out of this country, it seems like. So I contacted Pastor Monday, and he said, yeah, you come. And on March the 1st, the evening of March the 1st, I was heading for an airport. I was heading to Los Angeles airport to fly to Indonesia. And so the mother of all escalators, that's what the Arabs would call it. And you don't forget that sort of thing. And to this day, right now we're October the 15th, 2023. So 17 and a half years later, God has not released us from that call, and I've made 25 trips there. We've never moved there. We almost did once, and I'll tell that story later. But anyway, that was the most interesting escalator ride I've ever taken. I'm open to more. I'm open to escalators, elevators, anything, but that was amazing. And I thank God for how I encountered him and how I encountered these pastors and the phenomenal door that opened through Pastor Monday there in Jakarta.